Hello, fellow Unity migrants. This is Stefan of Lendergan Games. I'm bringing this video to all of you who have come to Godot from Unity but want to keep doing animations the way you were before. Now, I've seen claims that Godot is set to bring out a specific node for that titled Animation Tree, but I myself have yet to see it. So insert your own Half-Life 3 joke right here. Anyway, I don't know what exactly you'll want, but I'm just gonna show you something that worked for me specifically. Chances are what I wanted is a lot more complicated than what you'll want anyway. Now, for starters, I'm gonna show you how to access the variables within your new animation window. We start off by telling the movement script mess that up. AP equals get node and click and drag our animation player. There. And then it warns us down at the bottom, use onReadyVar. For a very simple reason. If you just do normally, when it calls for the variable, it does not yet exist. And so we go with onReadyVar, wait for it to exist, then we call it. So now we have AP for calling up the animation player. All right. So while I have two variables, facing right and moving. Both are bools. All right. So while we're moving, we AP animation player dot set variable string moving true. And then for facing, and then you do AP dot set facing right true. Yes, most of this is already 80% complete because steps 5 through 20 are steps 1 through 5 all 3 more times. All right, now as for the animation window itself, one thing you likely haven't noticed, but I have not included in here the phrase enum states. That's because I have not managed to make any properly enumerated state machine work for me. Not even the add-on, the Godot add-on. It's like I load that up and it just hits me with you can do everything with this, and that was just too daunting for me. So instead, we'll be making a funk machine. Of course, we're going to assume that since you came from Unity, you'll naturally be curious as to try the visual script for recreating the window. However, doesn't quite turn out exactly what you want, but because I've rename states to, instead of using states, we're switching between functions. Everything's up between in bite-sized chunks. All right, so with this, bring up the function or state, whatever you want to call it, and bring it into the basically void enter, void start, I forget what it is. Now, we were not going to be using func process delta nor func input event. And it took me a couple weeks to figure that out. Instead, we'll simply be, actually we'll also be setting some variables. You can set the variables here or in the movement script. Doesn't matter. Tells me hold control to start a move it to set. All right, moving is false. Now with these lines in the visual script, these are not transition. These lines are next, saying moving on to the next line of code. So with starting up, we have defining variables and defining our entry state, which for me I have 12 animations, which is another reason that the state machine animation with the state machine tutorials just weren't working for me. In Unity's animation window, I had well, it ended up being 28 animations overall, and it was this gigantic Celtic knot. All right, so in our opening position, we do our animation. Now, there's two ways to do an animation. We have set animation and play animation. For this, because the idle animation is can be interrupted at any time, we will want set. Because we're doing playing an animation and func process, which we'll be recreating with this. One of the great strengths and frustration and ultimate frustrations of Godot is that you have multiple ways of achieving every result. So it's then you end up not sure whether you were supposed to get that result in the way that you just did. Now, all right. As you, all right, here it is. Here is the information on that little bit. Set self, set property, set current animation. Now, a bit of a headache that I have with this is that I don't know whether or not there should be a drop-down menu. Like I said, it's like there's so many ways to do everything, you're not certain whether you're doing it the way that's intended. So what I do is I keep this, I call this variable z-string, just to keep it down next to the animation player list. Z-string, set that to the animation that I want, which the way that I've ordered my own, the way that I've labeled my own animations is which direction he's facing and which foot is forward. And now we change the property to current animation. And okay, so next we do some condition statements. And so now we go down to the bools, starting with facing right. If that is true, we go to the next if statement. If it is false, we'll eventually be doing a transition. All right, and then is moving true? If it is true, we move over to the other state, walk RL. And if it is false, we loop back to here. However, we also need to, this is how we recreate the func process. Available nodes wait and wait frame. False, we just tell it to wait a frame, and then we tell it to call itself. So start itself back over. All right, now over down in the walk, we do another function is call, or another node, whatever. And the call function, search PL for play. Default arguments down 1 so that we can tell it which animation we're playing. Now for play, it's less of a hassle. So yes, I do that more than set as often as I can. Forgot to press enter. There. And now our polling interval for this yield signal, and the signal for which until which we are yielding is animation finished. So we're telling this when the animation is finished. Now we copy paste these conditions. There. Bring on the other two states. At the end of this animation, if we're still walking, he has gone from the left foot to the right foot. And if it's not walking, we are then standing with the right foot forward. And now you can see, yes, I did the, oh. I seem to have messed up somewhere. All right. I'd forgotten to tell it that when we are stopped, we are no longer moving. There. And as you can see, oh, yeah, you can also go 1 foot. That's, yeah. Trying to loop animations has been really frustrating until I turn this more or less into a state machine by another name. And now going back to the animation player script. And add in the transition. Cool. Play. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah, as you can see, it's, and now we have the transitioning animations, and everything is beautiful. All right, and that's how I got the, and that is how I managed to transfer the logic of the Unity animation window to Godot's animation player. Thank you, and I hope this helps make things easier for you until the animation tree node gets properly released.